Hi guys, welcome to my channel.
Subscribe to my channel and make sure you give it a thumbs up if you like makeup videos.
PMS is boop 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 knocking at my door and trying to beat me up because what's happening? Let me put it all towards being a baddie. All right, so I'm gonna show you guys how to get a perfect full face beat. All right, it's been a minute since I feel like I put a beat on, and I thought it was a perfect time to show you guys my personal techniques on how I get a full glam. So we're gonna do full coverage, we're gonna do contour, we're gonna do cream blush, we're gonna do powder blush, we're gonna do it all. Okay, so I'm gonna show you guys everything that I do. We're gonna go ahead and put on a little headband. Just going with the Iris and Romeo spray. The key to any baddie look is to make sure that you are skin prepped, okay? To moisturize, all right? Get your moisturizer, whatever that may be. If your moisturizer is just high chances are that your makeup will not look as good, okay? A lot of times people are like, oh my God, I do the exact same steps that you do and my makeup is just not looking the same. High chances are that it's because of the skincare, okay? Your makeup will look patchy, it will look dry, or it will get really oily if you're not using anything or if you're using a lot of products. So skin prep is key here. I'm gonna go ahead and use my moisturizer, use my eye cream. Everything is pretty much, I would say, dry and into the skin. I got nails. I just got press-ons. So if I do this a lot, it's because I'm just not used to it and I want to show them off. For that glam baddie look, you really want to make sure that your brows are set and also that you fill in your brows. Filling your brows makes such a big difference. Back combing. You got a back comb. If it's not working for you, it's probably because you're not doing that. If you are having a lot of issues with your brow gel in general, flaking, looking like really white, or it just doesn't mix well with your skin, highly suggest that maybe you need to exfoliate, or you need to make sure that your brow is hydrated, in the sense that skin is holding your brow hairs. It's like your scalp. So if your scalp is dry and you got dandruff, high chances are that that's why your brow gel is not working that well. So you want to make sure that you're really always thoroughly hydrating every part of your skin, not just this area. You want to make sure you get under here too. Make sure that you don't have any brow gel laying on the skin. I don't have that issue. I don't know why, but I highly suggest to go in with like a makeup remover or makeup wipe if you find that you're having a lot of product here, because that will mess up your foundation. You're probably like, girl, you're missing a step. You didn't put on a brow pencil. That's on purpose. The key here is, once you use your brow gel, you want to go ahead and you want to shape your brow with the concealer so that you can really decide how you want to shape your brow, and you have a lot more flexibility. Sometimes we get really heavy-handed with a brow pencil, and it's very difficult to remove once you put on the brow gel first. You want to make sure that if you are using this technique where you lay your brow hair down first, you want to carve it out with concealer and then go in with the pencil. Start in the front and guide it. In the Benefit one. All right. I'm gonna go ahead and add a light concealer onto the eyelids. This is gonna cancel out any hyperpigmentation. It's just gonna give us a really good base for any eyeshadow that we decide to put on. I want to make sure that all of this is really nice and flat, but also covered. Sometimes when I'm teaching people, they put a little bit of concealer and then spread it everywhere, and they're like, well, I did nothing. I'm like, yeah, sweetie, because you didn't put enough. So we're gonna make sure that anything that we're putting on today is a lot of it, okay? I would say if you feel like you put enough, just add a little bit more. Put that thing on, girl. We got makeup to put on, to put it on. All right, so now that this whole area is nice and covered, and blend it out all the way to the edges. So we're gonna go ahead and move on to the face, because we're not gonna be doing anything too crazy on the eyes, so we can come back to them in a second. Okay, so if you have bigger pores or more oilier skin, or combination skin, highly suggest the One Size Secure the Blur Primer. Super great for keeping your makeup on a really long time. I went swimming one time in DR with this on, and this kept it on. Okay, now if you are only struggling with your makeup to stay on, you're not struggling with texture, then I highly suggest to do the Milk Primer. This one is going to give you a beautiful glow and also keep your makeup on. So for today, I'm going to go ahead and use the Milk one. Make sure your face is covered in the areas where your makeup doesn't last. We're going to go ahead and use 2 foundations just because I don't want something that is too matte and I don't want something that's going to be too shiny where it doesn't last or give you that really smooth face. So these 2 combined are stunning. If you're more oily, you'll really like this guy. If you're more dry, you'll love this one. I just want a combination of the both because this guy will last such a long time. So if you're trying to be a baddie shot o'clock, you want to make sure your makeup's lasting. So we need to make sure we're adding something that's going to keep it on. So I just love putting this on. So I'm using 1 pump of both. Okay, and I'm gonna go ahead and blend it out with this brush. This is the It Cosmetics brush. I just love the shape of this, and I love that it feels like it just blends the makeup into the skin. There's some brushes that feel like you're kind of painting your skin. This actually feels like it's blending into the skin, which is really beautiful. So we're gonna go ahead and start always in the center of the face and blend out outward. And I'm doing tapping motions, and this is key here, is to tap it into the skin. This is going to give you that really flawless base, and I already feel 1,000 times better. I'm going ahead and I'm really making sure that it's blended into the skin. So for any, pretty much, you can use any cream contour. You can use a concealer that's 2 shades darker. You can use anything for this step, to be honest. You just need it to be darker than your skin. We're going to go ahead and add the Charlotte Tilbury Cream Bronzer on the forehead. And this is usually, I did add way too much. Wow. This is usually why I don't add foundation here. It's because I usually add a cream bronzer, which usually just works as a foundation. And we're just going to blend it. You also want to make sure it's blended into your hairline. So this is cream bronzer. So this is going to be very orange, very warm. So we're going to add that higher than our actual cheekbone. And we're going to press into the skin. You don't want it to ruin the foundation that's under it or disturb it. So you want to make sure you're tapping. And this brush is a Real Techniques brush in the version 241. Which is like a kitten paw shape. Literally, I bring it all the way up here because when I add my blush, it will blend everything in together seamlessly. You won't have those harsh lines. And with the foundation brush, and I'm resharpening this jawline right here. And do it to the other side. You want all of this to kind of blend into one. You want to go ahead and contour. This is the part where you're really going to reshape the face a little bit and create more of a structure. So I'm gonna go halfway through the ear right here and add this Cool Tone contour stick. So contour is gonna be more gray, bronzer is gonna be more warm. That is the difference. The same exact brush that I used for my bronzer, and I'm gonna go ahead and slightly tap and blend it up into it. You want both of these to, again, mesh together. You don't want any harsh lines. And that was the Fenty stick in the shade Amber. It is very cool tone, which makes a great contour. And I love to use it also to re-contour and shape the nose. So we're adding that and blending it in the same spot. This all, I place mostly all the pigment on the side of the nose so that once I blend it, this still will stay a little bit darker, but there won't be any harsh lines. The blush, I feel like if we're doing full glam, we're doing full glam. So we're gonna go ahead and use a hot pink blush from House Labs. This is in the shade Pitaya? Okay. Gonna go ahead and add a little bit add it on the brush. And this is the same brush that I use my cream contour cream blush with. And I'm going to apply it right here on the cheek. And we're going to slowly blend it out by doing what? Tapping motions. And I always like to bring it under the eye, so that once I go in with the concealer, everything will blend together. Now it's time to tone down this blush. You could have stopped a long time ago, but I kept going. I use now 2 full coverage concealers because we want the coverage. And we're gonna go ahead and use Sephora Collection Concealer, Techniques brush in 402. And what are we doing again? Tapping motions. I added some in my forehead to just bring back the lightness again. I added some in the center of my face to restructurize my nose again, or like to brighten it up. My chin, to just give a little bit of extra coverage right here. And of course, under my eyes. Nice and blend it out. We're done with concealer. No, we're not. We're gonna go ahead and add a little bit of Hourglass concealer. This is just gonna help to brighten the inner corner right here. I feel like this is optional, but I like to go at least 4 shades lighter than my skin for my concealer, because it really pops out the inner part of your face and that makes you look slimmer, okay? I know it's in my head, but run with me, okay? I promise you'll feel a lot lighter if you go with that really bright concealer. So I'm gonna go ahead and tap this in, but I'm trying to keep this really close to the inner part of my socket right here. I'm not gonna bring it out too much over here because I don't want it to be all really bright. I just want this part to be really bright. We're gonna bring it also to the side of the nose to shape the nose. You don't want to blend it completely over the nose. You just want to keep it right to the side of it. And use some setting powder. When I'm going for that beautiful, flawless, full beat glam, we're using loose powder. And this is the one. I love this Laura Mercier one because it does have hyaluronic acid. So it does keep the skin nice and like hydrated, but just flawless. So again, blend the lines out. Powder puff with some powder, and we're gonna press and tap into the skin. Pound. And then powder, remove some on the palm of your hand. Blend out the line and set. You don't want to set while you're looking like this because you will set the creases in and your concealer won't be as smooth. All right, and we're gonna go ahead and add it in the center. I like to touch on my brows, make sure that those are not too shiny, and we're gonna add it on the eyelid. Now, before I completely set the blush, I'm gonna go ahead and use the edge of the sponge of the powder puff and really shape right here, this line. This will make all the difference of giving you structure to the face and not making everything look like it's just muddled up together and you did nothing to yourself. So always start back here, and whatever's left over, bring to the front. You don't want to start here because you'll end up creating a weird patch and then nothing will show up here. You always want to start back there, and then whatever's left over, you'll tap it onto the cheeks. The cheek area doesn't have to be set with translucent powder. You're also gonna set it with powder bronzer and powder blush, so that's up to you. It will keep your makeup a lot more smoother and also ensure that the powder blush and powder bronzer blend really nicely on top of the skin. If it's too wet and you're going with something powdery with color, it can coagulate and kind of like mush together and create little spots. So you want to make sure that you're being very mindful of, is my skin really wet when I'm putting a powder on? Because sometimes that's why you get really patchy. So hope that makes sense. I'm gonna do powder bronzer. This again does not have to be an actual bronzer. It can be a powder foundation that you found that's a few shades darker than yourself. So I'm going to use this one from Sephora collection. This is the micro swoop powder. It's a baked formula, so it still leaves some type of sheen to the skin. It makes it look like it's skin, so it doesn't look too matte, and I really enjoy that. But there is no actual shimmers in this. So I'm literally using a big fluffy brush. I'm focusing it only right here. If you notice, the brush is not going anywhere down here, and I'm pressing into the skin and up. Into the forehead, right up here, and whatever's left, blend it down to the center. Light skin like me, because you want to make sure you don't have that weird scalp line. It could be any brush as long as it's fluffy. And we're gonna go ahead and grab the same bronzer, and this is what I said, we're gonna go ahead and put this on the eyelid. We're gonna start right here in the inner corner where you have this bone, and blend it to the side, and then blend it all the way across. And I started right here so that this gives some structure, and then this is blended out because there's just not as much pigment. Leave the eyelid space bare, or you can go ahead and bring it down. So I'm gonna go ahead and bring it all the way down to the lash line, and it can blend into your bronzer right here, because remember, you have bronzer there, so everything you want it to kind of like blend cohesively. And again, this bronzer is not very darker compared to me. It's only like maybe 2-3 shades darker than me, so it is very easy to work with. Now, if you're going with something a lot darker than yourself and then trying to do this technique, it might end up a hot mess. So keep in mind the colors that you're using. Same brush, and I'm going to use a powder blush. Now, you can use a matte one, you can use a glowy one. I'm going to do a matte one for the sake of not using the same blush I'm always using. I'm going to go ahead and use Pomelo Peach from House Labs. This is the old formulation. I don't feel like it looks the same right now, but I've had it for a while, so it is my favorite, one of my favorite blushes. So I'm going to go ahead and use the same brush, and now I'm going to tap the blush into the skin, and I'm still tapping. A lot of people have now, used to have a habit of doing a lot of swirly motions, but you don't really want to disturb the foundation. You could do that. It's not necessarily gonna mess up the foundation, but why risk it, you know? I feel like I've lost that brightness under my eye, and that usually happens all the time. So now we want to bring that brightness back, and we're going to do that with a pressed powder that has some color. This can be considered a foundation powder, a pressed setting powder, a brightening powder, however you see fit, you want to call it. You can use anything, okay? But it does have to be at least a few shades lighter than you. I would say at least 4 shades lighter. And now we're going to go ahead, pack it into our little square. What is this thing? Our little triangle, a little powder puff. And I'm going to go ahead and add it only into the inner corner of the eye. Well, not really. I'm starting at the inner corner of the eye. Whatever's left over, I'm bringing it out, using it to sharpen this line. And I'm adding it right here onto the top part of the blush. And this creates that really beautiful blurred under eye area with this in the center of the nose. This will give you that really defined nose contour, because you brought the really light powder right here next to the cream, next to the powder bronzer, and a little bit on this side, and then you reline it up in the middle, and voila, you have a contoured nose. I'm gonna go ahead and add powder highlight. Now, I really love a little nose highlight, so I'm gonna go ahead and grab a little brush, and I'm gonna just tap it on the nose. This also helps, I know a lot of people sometimes have a nose texture issue, or sometimes our nose shows a lot of bumps and just different types of dry patches. So adding a little bit of a highlight onto the nose actually hides all of that. So at least I find that it does. Add it on the top half of my cupid's bow. I would add a lash, to be honest, but because I'm gonna go to sleep, I don't really want to have lash glue in my eye. The mascara, go ahead and add a lash if you want to. And then I'm gonna go ahead now and do my lip. So I'm gonna use Endless Cacao. Now I'm gonna go ahead and add a lip gloss. This is in the shade Daisy Pink from Lawless. It is the most beautiful, like, baby pink, and it stays on a really long time. So I'm gonna add this. So this is a finished look. See you next time. Bye.